Okay, this is law of cosines, which is different from law of sines, but it's the same thing when you're looking at a triangle and there's not a 90-degree angle, or you only have one angle. You're going to use either law of sines or law of cosines, and you can tell by looking across from the angle that you're given. See how we're not given side A, but we're given angle A, and then we're given sides, but not the opposing angle. That's your clue for law of cosines, because for sine, you need sine of the angle divided by the actual side length, and we don't have one of those. So we're going to use law of cosines. Another way to look is if you have a side with the angle between. So you know the two sides in the angle, that's called side angle side. That's another reason where you would use law of cosines. So first thing, it's asking us to find the angles, but you might want to note this. So you can't solve for an angle until you know all three sides. So we actually are going to start down here by finding side A. And there's an equation that starts with a squared. So you have three equations to pick from. It's the very first one. That's the one we want. We want A. So we're going to use the one where it's a squared equals. So a squared equals b squared plus c squared. Can you tell there's some Pythagorean theorem in the proof for this? Minus 2bc times cosine of A. And notice it's uppercase A. This is our angle. So let's plug in everything. B is across from angle, so 9 squared plus 6 squared minus 2 times 9 times 6, those are always repeated, times cosine of angle A, which is 67. And then we need to get A by itself, and right now it's A squared, so guess what we're going to do? We're going to square root both sides. So A equals the square root of that. And I'm going to type it in just like that. So square root of 9 squared plus 6 squared minus 2 times 9 times 6 times cosine of 67. That's a lot. So these are long formulas, but you'll know how to use them. And then we're rounding to 3 decimal places. So 8.64875. I only want 3 numbers because that's greater than 5. It's going to be 8.649. Oops. So that's A. Okay, now I can solve for an angle now that I know all three sides. So I want angle B. So look here at our 3 formulas. Which one has angle B? The middle one, right? So that's the one we're going to use. So we have B squared equals A squared plus C squared minus 2AC times cosine of B. And actually, as soon as I wrote this, I thought, now we have angle and opposing side. We can actually use law of cosines, or law of sines now. So we can use law of sines because we have those opposite ones. So actually, law of sines is way easier than law of cosines. So I'm going to scratch that, and we're going to use law of sines because we know sine of A and side A. And we want to solve for angle B, and we know side B. So I'm switching gears. We're using law of sines. The angle is 67, and we just solved for our side. We're trying to solve for the angle, and our side is 9. So let's cross multiply. 9 times sine of 67 equals 8.649 times sine of B. All right, divide both sides by 8.649. So we have 9 times sine of 67 over 8.649 equals sine of b. Well, that's not our answer. We're not going to put that in the calculator yet because we just want b. So how do we get rid of sine? We take sine inverse, right? So sine and sine inverse equal 1. Now we're just left with b, and then this goes in our calculator. So I have sine inverse of 9 times sine of 67, all divided by 8.649. And let's see how it says to round on this. Oops. Round to 1 decimal place. So 73.3 degrees. So we just found B is 73.3. So now what happens? We have 2 angles inside a triangle. The third one's an easy find. We just subtract both of those from 180. So I'm going to take 180 minus 73.3 minus 67 and get 39.7. And it's an angle, so I'm going to include the degrees. And let's see. Yes, after you find your side, use law of sines. I'm glad they did that as well. They also use law of sines to find angle C. Once you have 2 angles, just subtract from 180. It's way easier.